Chicago, and around the world where your voice is heard. This is UBM Talk. The following show is paid programming and does not necessarily express the views and opinions of Urban Broadcast Media and its subsidiaries. Thank you for listening to UBM Talk.
Welcome back to the Let's Stay Together talk show. Now here is your host and author Brenda McCain.
All right. Welcome back to Let's Stay Together Talk. Thank you for listening to us for the first hour of the show. We're about to get ready to go to our Making Marriage Work segment. Baby, who do we've got for Making Marriage Work?
Making Marriage Work. We are talking about surviving a divorce, and our special guest tonight is Joyce Marter. She is a MA, LCPC, and founder and CEO of Urban. Welcome, Ms. Joyce.
Thank you so much for having me. Great to be with you guys again.
All right. Hey, I did miss you. Haven't been here for a while, so thanks for coming back onto the show.
Absolutely. Anytime. My pleasure.
So, Joyce, I want to start off, in a lot of times when in marriage relationships, we people get married, and for some, reason, people separate, and it causes an issue. And we want to kind of talk to some of the people who are maybe going through a divorce or has been divorced, how to survive through that. So talk to me a little bit about, a survival technique that someone should have if they're going through or have been divorced.
Absolutely. Well, I have counseled probably hundreds of people through separation and divorce, and actually have gone through this personally myself in the past year and a half or so. And it certainly is a big life transition, and one that not many of us expect to go through. But I really believe that it's an opportunity for kind of a rebirth or a metamorphosis. It's really an opportunity to re-examine your life and shift back to your authentic self. So it's a time to kind of reflect at, what's been working and what's not working in your life, and identify any themes or patterns that you've unconsciously been creating, and then, set up a new plan for yourself. I'm a firm believer in the power of intention, so kind of thinking through how you'd like your life to be from here forward and creating a positive vision for that future.
Ms. Joyce, is it hard to redefine yourself after divorce? Because most people think you lose your identity when you marry, but once you're coming out of a marriage, is it hard to realize, okay, what did Joyce like to do? What am I capable of doing?
That's exactly right, Brenda. It can be really challenging because your identity changes in so many ways, and oftentimes your social life changes or your day-to-day lifestyle changes, so challenging. And I really encourage people to, it's important to connect who's been through. I say that friends like elevator buttons, they either bring you up or they bring you down.
Yes,
so you want to surround yourself with positive support to really kind of normalize and validate your experience. And then in terms of redefining yourself, I think it's important to pay attention to your thinking. I really don't like to think about divorce as a failed marriage or as someone having a broken family. I think that separation and divorce are unfortunately sometimes necessary for people to grow and move forward in their lives in a positive direction. And so we want to pay attention to our thinking and keep it positive. I think that we set our own ceilings sometimes, so I really encourage my clients and my friends and colleagues to aim high in terms of how they'd like their identity and their life to be going forward, and practice a lot of self-care. I really do believe that self-love must come first.
Yeah, Joyce, I'm a product of a divorce too myself, and although it transitioned to be something great because now I'm married to this beautiful woman over here for 22 years. At that time, I felt, lost, depressed, and I felt like a failure because it was something I never wanted to experience or go through. Talk to that person right now that might be feeling that way and give them something to reassure them that, divorce doesn't mean that you failed. It just means the relationship didn't work.
You said that so well, Rick, and you're absolutely right that it can be very, very hard. And I think it's important for people to really honor their feelings and allow themselves to feel whatever they're experiencing and to grieve the losses of the life that you thought you'd have. And sometimes through that experience, I think that sometimes our setbacks are opportunities for growth. And sometimes even going through hard experiences can prepare us and open us up for something even better and a greater love, a greater life that maybe we never even anticipated. And you're a great example of having achieved that with Brenda.
Hi, Joyce. It's Tracy here. And one of the things you said that was really important, I'm divorced now. I've been divorced for 16 years, and it was like a death. And it was so devastating. I mean, I actually had a little nervous breakdown and everything. But one of the things Brenda said earlier, too, I had a harder time finding out who I was after the divorce. I mean, I didn't lose myself before the divorce. I lost myself after the divorce. I knew who I was in the marriage, but I didn't have any idea who I was afterwards. Does that make sense to you?
Right, absolutely. It makes total sense, Tracy, and I think a lot of people go through that. And so I think that we all can benefit from reflection. So any kind of practice that helps you go internal and check in with how you're really feeling on a deeper level. For some people, that might be a spiritual practice like meditation or prayer. For some people, it might be going to counseling or therapy, which I think is something really healthy and normal and proactive. And you're sitting with somebody who is able to reflect back to you how they see you and understand you. And that can help you understand yourself better and become more psychologically integrated and to develop a plan to move forward. And it is a trauma. Going through a divorce is a trauma, and you're absolutely right. It is like a death and enormously stressful.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was going to say that the counseling helped. But that's actually one of the reasons that I wound up on this show. No, really, it did. It was. We talked about forgiveness, and I came on as a guest and never left.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Ms. Joyce,
Yeah, and forgiveness is important.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is definitely important to help with a relationship.
I know that could be kind of hard.
And to move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, to move forward, you have to forgive the person, whether you initiated the divorce or the other person did. But if you're stuck and just hating that person, if they initiated it, then you're not going to be able to grow in the future. But let's talk about if kids are involved. How can you minimize the impact on the children during a divorce?
Absolutely. Well, I think forgiveness is actually an important part of that, to be able to forgive yourself. Like Rick was saying earlier, you're not blaming yourself for failing in a marriage, to forgive your former partner. Resentment is like it keeps you tethered to the past. So letting go and working at practicing acceptance and basically good parts, all of that is going to set up an environment that isn't hostile and tense between the two parents, so that the kids feel more at peace and less stressed out. It's really important for the parents to take care of themselves. I think sometimes as parents we're trained to always put our kids first, and sometimes at the detriment of our own self-care. So it's important for us to make sure that we're getting enough sleep, that we're getting exercise, that we're eating right, that, we're not abusing drugs or alcohol, or that we're getting enough support. And if we're happy and healthy, our kids are going to do a lot better. It's also obviously really important not to put the kids in the middle, to communicate directly and diplomatically and respectfully with your former partner to resolve issues, so that you're not asking your kid to kind of go back and forth between the two of you.
Right.
It's also important not to talk badly about your ex. And obviously we're all human, and that may happen from time to time, but it is really harmful for the kids. So really being cognizant of not speaking poorly about your ex to your kids. That you can talk to your buddies about that, but not your children. It puts them in a really bad situation. And I think, practicing empathy, allowing them to have their feelings, and it's okay if they're sad or they're angry or they're hurting. It doesn't mean that you're a bad parent or that you failed. It's a normal response to the situation, and it will pass. Yeah. Life will transition.
So, Joyce, you said something that was important to me, is that, not bashing the other's former spouse in the relationship. But one of the things I was going to ask you is that, when kids are involved, do you feel that it's okay that the person that has the kids now talks about the process of the divorce or shares with them so they can be more, aware of what's going on? Or do you feel that it's something that, you don't want to tell them at all?
Well, that really depends on the age of the kids.
Right.
You want to share what's developmentally appropriate. I think kids are really smart, and they often pick up on what we're not telling them, and sometimes that can create more anxiety. So I think telling them on a need-to-know basis, certainly, when the divorce is going to occur, what the plan is, to answer any questions that they might have, so that they're not holding any fears or uncertainties or anxieties that they're not talking about. But it wouldn't be appropriate to go into the nitty-gritty of the financial and the custody situation, especially if you and your former partner are not in agreement.
Yeah. What about when, like, I remember my children thought their father left because of me, and that was not the truth. So for a minute, I kind of let them believe it, but then I got angry, and I was like, it ain't my fault, it's his fault. So how do you handle something like that?
Oh, that is a really hard thing. I mean, I am a believer that the truth shakes out over time, and that, kids are doing their best to make sense of a situation that doesn't make sense to them right away. And sometimes blame is part of that process, and I do think that oftentimes kids express anger at the partner with whom they have the more secure relationship with, because they're more confident that the person isn't going to go away. So I think, again, going back to empathy and saying, gosh, I know you're mad, I know you're upset, I know this is hard. But yeah, it is hard to defend yourself without throwing the other person under the bus. And there's definitely an art to being diplomatic in that process.
Joyce, what about the child who thinks the parents got the divorce because of them, that they always hear their parents arguing about, we don't have money and these too many children and blah, 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 and then it ends up being a divorce, and they always have that in the back of their mind was, why did they get the divorce? Because I'm here, that they couldn't afford to take care of me. Or maybe I'm watching too many Lifetime movies, but this, seemed like a case that I've been seeing a lot, that the kids take the blame for a divorce.
Absolutely. And no, it's not too many Lifetime movies. That is a very common thing for kids to blame themselves, and it is very important. Thank you for reminding me of that, for us all to reassure the kids that in no way is this their fault. In no way could anything that they would have said or done, caused this, and that this is an issue between the two parents, and that both parents, love the children and, will continue to have relationships with them. Rather, the marriage is what's dissolving.
So Joyce, I know for me, and, in our show, we're always really honest with each other about things. And I did say that I was, divorced, and it did take a toll on me. I want you to talk a little bit about, rejoining the, talking to someone else, as you will, rejoining the dating scene, because it was very difficult for me because I was hurt in that relationship. In a lot of cases, I didn't trust Brenda with a lot of things. It took a while for me to have that trust again, because I was always concerned about, some things that she might do against me. And we talked a little bit about the kids will sometimes, they'll gravitate to the person that they're not going to leave. But when you don't have kids and you're about to go back out there, you don't have anyone to gravitate on. You're always concerned that that next person might leave. Help me out here on me not allowing my past to, destroy my future.
Well, I think that we're all shaped and molded to some extent by our past, whether it's by our families of origin or by our previous relationships. So your feelings were a normal response to everything that you've been through. So it's about, honoring those feelings and being aware of them and recognizing that they may be distorting, some of your perceptions about a new relationship, or that you're going into a relationship with some normal fears and anxieties. And that's where I do feel that counseling or therapy can be really helpful, because that's a place where you can get some support and some coaching around returning back to dating, which is challenging. It's challenging in terms of trusting other people, allowing yourself to be vulnerable, allowing yourself to be intimate and close to somebody else emotionally or maybe even physically. And that can be really anxiety provoking, and that's a normal, human experience. So I think just getting support from, whether it's a counselor or friends who know and care and can advocate for you. And I think for each person, returning back to the dating scene is a different process. Some people jump right into it and it makes them feel better. Other people are very, very cautious, and everything in between.
I know it's a great lady by the name of Joyce that's the CEO of a company. What is your company that people could go to?
Oh, you're so sweet, Brenda. I appreciate it. So my company's name is Urban Balance, and we are a counseling practice that has now 7 locations in the Chicagoland area. And we provide counseling for individuals, couples, and families. And our big thing is that we're insurance friendly. So we're in network with most insurance plans, because we aim to make counseling accessible and affordable. I think we all can use it at different points in our lives.
So, Joyce, what made you decide that you wanted to start something like this? I mean, it's a wonderful thing, but give us a little bit backstory about why did you, want to be, start Urban Balance?
Well, I love being a therapist. The work is really deeply meaningful to me. It's an honor to get to know people and to help them move forward in their lifestyle. Also a person, and I noticed that in the Chicagoland area, there's a lot of great therapists, but many of them do not accept insurance, and it's very expensive for most people, and it's not affordable or sustainable. So I felt like it made sense to accept insurance even if we are getting a lower rate per session, and it turns out that that's worked pretty well, because we get more referrals and people are able to stay in treatment longer and do the work that they want to do, because it's a lot easier to pay, a $15 copay than it is to pay $150 out of pocket for a counseling session.
Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, now I know, I can send Brenda to him just in case he needs some counseling therapy.
He's going to be right with me, Joyce. Going to be couple counseling.
But, the thing that I do love, I mean, Joyce sounds like she's a person that you can easily talk to. You're very intelligent, and you're very calm and serene in how you talk to a person. So if I'm going through an issue where I need someone to talk to, what would you say that I should be looking for, other than coming to you, which is the place that you go to? Help somebody that might be looking for some counseling, but they're afraid. Give them some ideas on what they should be looking for and why they should come for counseling help.
Thank you, Rick, for the compliments, first of all. I think we all can benefit from it, and, it doesn't mean that you're crazy or in crisis. It's a place where you can get support and tools and resources to help you move forward. And I think just looking for somebody who's licensed and credentialed and experienced. A lot of places like Urban Balance offer a free consultation to see if it's a good fit. The research says if you like your therapist, you're more likely to make progress. So it's really just to see if you feel comfortable and connected with them. It should be a safe place for you. You should feel like your therapist understands you, and you should feel like you are able to let them know if you're not making the progress that you want to make, or if you're not comfortable with any aspect of your treatment. You should feel comfortable letting them know and moving forward from there.
Amen.
That's so important. I think I had gone through so many therapists before I found one that I stayed with, and I think I stayed so long. She was like, "Come on, Tracy, if you just want to talk, call me on the phone," And she just moved to New Orleans, and I cried like a baby.
Well, so now you can go to Joyce. And you can have insurance pay for it. So now you've got another place.
Because I miss her.
Oh, sure. It becomes a really important relationship.
Yeah. That's what she said.
And these are two people here that need some counseling. Joyce,
I know. I get my tune-up, so I am an advocate for counseling.
But I'm going to tell you, one of the things I'll be, honest with is that a lot of times men, we kind of deflect from counseling because we think, it shows a weakness. And during the time that I was, depressed and something, I lost about 60 pounds in 2 months.
Yeah, I was gorgeous. And,
wow.
People are thinking you had AIDS or stuff like that. I just wasn't eating, but I didn't, I didn't want to go talk to anybody because I just felt that it wasn't something that a man should do. Kind of debunk that myth for a man to realize that counseling is just as benefit for them as it is from anyone.
It is, and I'm so glad that you mentioned that, Rick. And I think a lot of guys don't recognize when they're experiencing some normal depression or anxiety, and things like sleep disturbance or appetite change, sometimes feeling more irritable or angry is actually a sign of depression rather than, tearfulness or crying. So sometimes men don't realize that. And I think for guys, I encourage them to think about it as coaching, or seeing a personal trainer. It's about problem solving and getting some new tools and some support and some perspective. And it is very positive and proactive. And more men are coming in for counseling. And I actually just was at a company of mostly men giving a workshop, and I was so proud to hear so many of them say that it's a sign of strength to seek help. And so my hope is that belief is shifting, and that guys too are realizing the benefits of getting support.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I know we got off into the other part of the counseling with the business, because she have great staff at her company as well. So we know great company have produced great fruit as well. Now, I have to ask you this: life after divorce. I know, both of these people over here in the studio was saying it was hard, they was depressed and everything. Is it that hard to get back out there? You guys have trust issues with that? And I say you guys because the three of you been through the divorce, and it's like, Tracy, you were saying you had the trust issues. Rick, you still have lingering trust issues.
Mine aren't trust issues.
Thank you, Brenda.
You said it.
Yeah.
I said then, not now.
Yeah. Mine aren't trust issues. Mine was fear of, I used to think it was fear of failing, and my counselor told me that I had already failed. So it helped me to realize that I was afraid of succeeding in a new relationship, and I'm still a little scared with that.
I think mine was just, trust. I wasn't afraid of trying to go out there and get into another relationship. I just didn't, I never wanted to have a divorce. And so I didn't want to get back in, because I love hard, that as well. Yeah. And I didn't want to get back into a relationship where I'm going to start loving someone hard and then it fails again. Right. So, it had to do a little bit about, being, afraid of being successful. But I just, Joyce, I dealt with the trust issue that, it's almost like, you hurt me once, you'll never do it again. Here goes the Great Wall of China stopping anyone from coming too close to me. And we get into that scenario sometimes, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. It's normal to have those fears and those defense mechanisms. And myself as well, I feel like it's been a big challenge for confidence. To remember that I'm lovable, that I'm desirable, that I'm deserving of a loving, supportive relationship. And it's different, dating in your 40s than it is in your 20s. Yeah. And our lives are more complicated. And so it's definitely a challenging experience, I think, for one's self-esteem or confidence. And it can be very scary to allow yourself to trust and be vulnerable. But I'm a firm believer in love, and I have found love, I'm happy to say. And my ex-husband is in a wonderful relationship, and he's very happy, and our kids are doing well. And, not to say that there wasn't hard stuff too, and it's an enormous transition. But I'm a believer in love and growth and healing and welcoming abundance into our lives in that way.
One other question for you, Joyce. When a person gets divorced, we three probably let you go through. But when you're the person who does the leaving, have you gotten people to come? Okay, you know where I'm going. the person who does the leaving, I know there's probably some sort of guilt there with them, but how have you talked to anybody like that?
Yes, absolutely. There's often guilt associated with that, and people have struggled with, wrestling with whether or not to leave a marriage for many years.
My ex-husband said
and then to finally address that can be just a very stressful experience, and definitely some guilt or anxiety, and dealing with other people's responses, and it can be very, very hard.
Yeah, and with the church.
Yeah, and it's the funny thing about it, and Joyce, we thank you for being on the radio show with us. We definitely will have you again, is that you get some people that sometimes are remorseful that they broke off, but then if that person that's divorced, they get remorseful because now they realize that the person that they left, the grass is not greener on the other side. And sometimes that happens as well. But Joyce, can you tell us once again about, yourself and the company that you're involved with and how people can get in contact with you?
Oh, that's so kind of you, Rick. Thank you. So again, my name is Joyce Marter, Marter. My company's name is Urban Balance, and our website is urbanbalance.com. And our phone number is 888-726-7170.
Well, you're not going to be a stranger. We're going to have you on the show again so you can talk about things that can help our audience. We thank you very much for your journalism and how you're caring for people in need.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all. Bye,
Right, take
Tracy,
care.
Brenda, and Rick. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
I like, Joyce always, she just sounds so professional and is so easy to talk to. You want to have that person that when you first get on the phone with them, you feel you want to call them. They're able to answer the appropriate questions to make you want to contact them.
Yeah,
very
and she
soothing.
sounds like
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
you know.
definitely.
And so, hey, we're about to get ready to go to our commercial break. Thank you for listening. You've just heard from Making Marriage Work from Joyce Marter, talking about surviving divorce. We're going to come back with Reverend Rick McCain, Brenda McCain, and Tracy Brown Howard, and our boy Dion on Let's Stay Together Talk right after these commercial breaks.